Hello everybody, how you doing? We Paddy from across the shock, and bit of a different video again this morning, and that's the way I like it. What I've done, I've thrown 10 knives down there. I could have put loads more, but this is a sort of, you'll see by the title, it's something like a look back at some of my earlier acquisitions that I still kept and why I've kept them. And we'll just have a fly through it. It was set off, I'd done a video the other day and I was talking about this Ganzo. It's a sort of the copy, or it's not a copy because the PM2 doesn't have an axis lock and this Ganzo does. This is one of the smoothest. I had this for years. They're so difficult to get now, but it's a beautiful, beautiful one. And yes, it is a homage, and like a very good homage to it. It's just beautiful. The axis lock on this is to die for. It's just a stunning lock. I really didn't show that well in front of the camera, but it is. It's one of the smoothest knives I had, and yet when I got it, it took me about 2 weeks to get it to break in because they're just plastic washers in them. No great deal. I have abused this knife. I cleaned it up. Haven't used it for so long now, but it is a knife that I don't think I'll ever let go of. It was just a great start in my career into locking knives because I'd never really used that many before. And Ganzo was my first foray into that, and I just loved them for it. And again, such a great working knife. It's 440C steel, which I know is not the modern go-to steel, but this does me in any day that I'm going to do, any day's work that I'm going to do, as does this. The clip is off this. This was my, what do you call in the States, a yard knife. It's my do-all knife. This was a gift. Most of these were gifts, would you believe that? I think there was only 3 of them that weren't gifts. And the people who sent them to me know who they are because I've had them for years and years. This is the Rat 1, but this is the old Aussie 8 model. And this is just a stunning piece of kit. This is one of the most comfortable big knives you'll ever put in your hand. Stunning, stunning knife. And if you can get one, get one. You don't need to spend the extra, although it's not a whole lot extra for D2, but I just like the way Ontario Rat done the heat treat on the Aussie 8 because they were making them for years. And they're just such a great big beater. And they're so cheap, you're not worried. Like the Ganzo, you're not worried if anything does happen. Pry, pull, do whatever. That's what was good about them. The modern knives would break my heart if I broke a tip or done something. But when you're buying budget knives for that use, you're not worried. But you couldn't break these. They're just such a beautiful knife. Really, I just enjoyed them. And I can't let them go because, I've let a lot of my knives go, but these are just ones, apart from a lot of them were gifts, but I asked a lot of my subs for gifts, can I sell them on, trade them on? Not sell them so much, but trade and sell to fund the channel because it was the only way I could have kept going. And a lot of my subs were very kind and gave me knives to that use. But these are just ones that I've kept that are just unbelievable. This is still one of my favourite knives of all time. It's a liner lock. It's the Blur. Listen to that. When you hear that, you just know it's a Blur. Kershaw Blur. And this one's in the old, this is 14C 28N, I think this one's in. So it's not a high-end steel, but again, this will do me for anything I ever want to do. It's just that sound. Absolutely beautiful, rock solid knife. Really, really stunning. It's still one of my favourite knives, never mind the age. I just love taking this out and flicking it. It is a real joy to have. And they've got modern steels in them now. I don't need them. This is absolutely fine for me. Now, here's another company that when I first started, I started getting their knives, and you could only get them in China, and that was TwoSun. This is an old TwoSun knife. It's got titanium scales. This was the high-end TwoSun at the time. Titanium scales. The fit and finish on it is beautiful. Titanium pocket clip that is just great for retention, and it was made by Night Morning Designs, who has obviously been about from the beginning. Lovely little small flipper tab. Does it affect it? Bang. No, look at that blade. The most gorgeous recurve. It is a gorgeous recurve. And I used this, and again, this is another full four-fingered, proper work knife, proper EDC knife, proper size. The blade looks massive compared to the handle. And it tucks away in there, lovely. It's a frame lock. Look at that. It is so smooth, really smooth. Oh, let me get over the detent, but it just drops in. And that was a real old TwoSun. And the nice thing about this Hawaii knife, and yeah, I'm just going to mention him, but he sent me this one. It's that same gunstock material, really, really beautiful, but a more modern one. This is a little toady fifth pocket knife where I can get about 2.5 fingers on, but that 2.5 fingers leads to an amazing lockup. It really is stunning. You could use, this is M390. So, I mean, absolutely beautiful. Really gorgeous little knife. And what a companion to go with that. I just think that's one of my nicest pairings to this day. Although they're not exactly the same, they just match gorgeous. This was my first M390 blade. And again, a lovely gift. Look at that. This was the Kizer Shoal with this smooth handle. But the grip on this, you're never going to slip forward with this. If you want to sneak up, you can a wee bit there. It's not great. I don't really have to with this. You know, you're close enough to that blade edge. Again, nice little recurve. I love this, especially if you're cutting rope and even cardboard. This is a hollow grind here and a flat grind up here. Again, a blade shape that is used more now than ever, but this was a few years ago when it wasn't really, the nightmare grinds weren't really being used that much on just everyday knives. It was more a custom thing. But this was a gorgeous, expensive at its time. The Kizer Shoal. Absolutely beautiful. Still got it, still love it, still use it. Here's a company again. It was a Chinese company, and I used to get these sent to me for reviews by GearBest. This was quite an expensive wee knife. It's got the most lovely, I know it's a flat carbon fibre, but the way they have channeled in here for the thumb stud here, you get the thumb stud and you get a flipper tab. Beautifully, beautifully done, and titanium milled. Look at the milling on that. Again, this is over 3 years ago. Look at that. It's my only Tanto I've got now, but a beautiful little Tanto blade. And it comes in VG10. But what a beautiful, beautiful knife. And that little thumb stud. This again is a frame lock. Beautiful. The thumb stud is lovely if you just want to. It's quite a hard detent. That's why it flips so well, but you can get it out anywhere. And it's a small enough knife that you can, it just goes across your palm. It's not a big knife. You can nearly hide the whole knife. But a beautiful rendition from a company, HX Outdoors, which you don't hear of now. It's a Chinese company. I don't even know whether they still do them. But that was a great offering in its day, and I loved it. Here's another one, and this is the smaller knives now. We're all into little smaller knives, fifth pocket knives. This again was a TwoSun from the early days, and this is in D2. It's got a little pocket clip, but it's a fifth pocket knife. But it is just the most beautiful little, it's a perfect drop point. It is a beautiful little knife. You can get 3 fingers on this, and again, very, very comfortable. And because it's a locking knife, a frame lock, you're not worried about it collapsing or anything. This is a beautiful little, you can do so much work with this. Unbelievable amount of work with this. Sorry, that's my dog running up and down there. Here's another one. This is the one I used before I started collecting most. This is the slip joint. Well, it's not a slip joint, it's a locking knife. But the little Opinel, this is a number 6. I used this for years. I haven't used it for years now, but I used to use this when I bush camped or bushcrafting, anything. This was my meal eating knife. This is my for light whittling jobs. It's just, look how thin that blade is. You want a slicer, never mind your fancy knives, go and get an Opinel. If you want a slicing knife, and that's truly your game, you can get away with an under £20 knife that will do every slicing job you want. Forget the expensive ones. They are. These are about £10 or something. It's a number 6. It locks. It's got that vibra lock where it just clips across. That's it locked. That's it open, and put it away, and you can lock it in that position. I put a little notch in there, an easy open notch. Now, I only done that about a year ago because I picked it out and used it. But this, if you want slicing, you know, I hear so many people saying, oh, they want that really thin edge. That's got to be, only the good knives do it. Opinel. You want a knife for your kitchen with a thin slice? Buy an Opinel. Now, this is the knife that's going in my pocket today. It's changing. It's kicked out my custom knife because I keep forgetting how good this knife is. It's a Rough Rider. It's not one of the older models. It was the first sort of ones that got the big R bolster, and it got red liners, and the shotgun pellet, bone scales, real bone scales, nickel silver bolster, and it was a single blade. Look at that for the most beautiful master spear. It's got that edge. I don't know. This is the second one. I had one that I used a lot, and then I had to get another one just for my collection because this will never leave the collection. I'll use it like as an EDC knife, which is why it's not scratched. It'll just cut bits of paper around the apartment. I have so many knives. And I know this is a dirt cheap knife, but my goodness, how pretty is that? I mean, it is just a gorgeous knife. And in hand, that bulbous bottom, I like my bulbous bottoms. This is just one of the most comfortable pen knives you'll ever put in your pocket. It is just a joy. So if you get a chance to do other, this is the swell end, the bullet end, whatever you want to call it. It's just a beautiful. Listen to that thump back in there. It is a stunning knife, which I highly, highly recommend anybody get. I'm putting it in my pocket today. Getting these out sort of stirred that thing to go back and try the old, but that is a gorgeous knife. So there you go. There's 10 of my favourite. If you've got 10 out there, it's an open tag. Show me 10 of your older knives and why you like them, and do you still like them? Will they fit in today's work? Every single one of these will fit into today's life because it's a knife and it cuts things, and I like knives that cut things. Is it high end? No. But they're just really good pieces of workmanship that are not perfect in every way. You could probably find faults if you look for them. But if you ask me, when I look down there, they're all perfect. They're all perfect. Because they worked, and they're in my collection. I've had them for years, and they still work. So, let me see yours. 10 of your oldest favourite knives. If you haven't got 10, put 2 down. I don't care. Just let me see what you've got. All the best, Paddy's Way. Cup of tea time. Bye now.